Hello. So I've been wanting to do a video about TMJ, Temporomandibular Joint Disorder. So everybody has a TMJ. Let me just start with that because TMJ simply means temporomandibular joint. So temporalis area, mandible, where the two come together, is a joint. It hinges. So everybody does have TMJ. But it's the disorder that I'm here to talk about, not just the fact that we all have a jaw that moves. So let me first start with some of the causes of TMJ. And some of them might seem simple or obvious, but others may not. And TMJ is commonly caused by stress and anxiety, starting to clench your teeth in times of stress, but it can actually also have an onset due to a head and neck trauma. Any sort of cervical injury can cause TMJ, whiplash, and in addition, sugar consumption as well as caffeine consumption can also play into issues with TMJ, meaning that the added caffeine or sugar in your body could be causing you to start clenching without even realizing it or really having any control over it, because when we do consume those things, they need somewhere to go, and if we aren't using that in some other way, which I can't say that even exercise would necessarily stop you, but something to keep in mind and to notice. If you do have TMJ issues, if you do tend to clench and you drink a lot of caffeine or you consume a lot of sugar, maybe notice, were you clenching before the sugar or the caffeine? Did it start happening afterwards? If you start to cut back, do you notice that it happens less? Good chance you will. It won't necessarily solve everything though, because again, stress is a big factor in TMJ. And so when we live very stressed out, we also can clench our jaw. And that doesn't necessarily even have to be a current stress. It might not be work that you're dealing with today. It could be stuff that happened a long time ago. It could be that you're anxious about the future and things ahead. Before I go much further, though, let me just say I am Natalie Pendergrass, and I am not a doctor. I just talk like one. No, I actually probably speak more clearly and openly and honestly than most doctors. Not to diss doctors, we need them. They're great. Lots of training, but I am speaking to you from experience. So I am a massage therapist. I am well trained. I've been an educator and massage therapist for over 20 years, and I've helped many people with their own TMJ issues. In fact, the first time I remember becoming aware of TMJ, I was actually a new yoga teacher, and I had this young couple that were taking my yoga class, and I don't remember exactly how it came out. I think maybe the wife didn't come a couple of classes and I inquired maybe, but I learned that she had terrible issues with her jaw and headaches, and she had to use a mouth guard at night, but that made her, and my first thought was, doesn't that make her clench more? And then I learned that yeah, it was. So that was the first time I remember hearing about it, and I remember then feeling such compassion and empathy for her, thinking how terrible that sounded and hoping that I never had to deal with that. And also just wondered how much, like conscious relaxation, focusing on the jaw relaxing would help. Well, I can tell you now from my own experience. So I started teaching yoga about 20 years ago, and it turns out I've been probably clenching my jaw since even that time. It's hard to say exactly when it started. This could have started when I was quite young. But the issues didn't become real obvious until I'd say around 10 years ago. I started having some tooth sensitivity. My dentist started noticing some wear, and then I even broke a tooth. In the past 5 years or so, I've broken teeth 3 times. I think it was 2 in the last 2 years. In 21, I had a rollover car accident, so that added to neck issues and also jaw issues. Now I'm going to add, this is kind of a side note, adds to it a little bit, but only somewhat. Everybody can have TMJ, everybody can have tension and stress, but I also do have classic type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that does cause my joints to be hypermobile. And so when I was in that rollover car accident having a lateral roll, I'm pretty sure that my jaw kind of bounced from side to side a bit and got a little looser, and that's also part of my issue. So after that accident, I was having such issues, so much pain, tension in my head and neck, my jaw. And I went to PT in one office, saw 2 different doctors, in another office that was specific for TMJ. Honestly, that made it all worse. And so that's what I want to talk to you about, is some of my experiences and what really has helped and what you might want to try and things you might want to avoid. So I've been talking to a lot of doctors over a long period of time about all of this. I've done acupuncture for relaxation, found that somewhat helpful. It's interesting how many things have been a little helpful, and I think really what it is all of those things put together that created all of the help and culminated in me finally getting Botox in my jaw, but I'll get to that. So let's just start back at the car accident, because again, that's where the issues got really bad. Prior to that, I was wearing a mouth guard. I had broken a tooth. I was dealing with shifting teeth even due to wearing the mouth guard and still clenching so much that I was just pushing my teeth around even if I wasn't wearing them down or breaking them. And a lot of that was not only the life stress that I was living in, but also just that I hadn't dealt with my traumatic childhood. And so the TMJ happened 10 years ago in January of 2013. I actually went into anaphylaxis due to my stress level. I had simply gone for a run, went into anaphylaxis. So I've been being warned by my body for many years that things were not going right and I needed to make a change. But I was a young parent. I was 25 when I had my, or 26, I think, when I had my first son. And I had him, I just had him the month after I turned 26. And, we didn't have great finances. I didn't take the time to heal my own childhood wounds before we had kids. We had our first place, we sold that, bought a second place, both in Illinois, not far from one another. And I had always wanted to adopt. We did adopt. The adoption went well. We love our daughter tremendously, but it did bring a lot more stress into our lives. Our daughter, unfortunately, due to severe neglect when she was an infant, has reactive attachment disorder, which, if you don't know what that is, the acronym is RAD, but trust me, it's not rad to deal with. It's very hard, very stressful. We dealt with constant calls from schools, principals, teachers, police at our house, and yada yada. But anyhow, so my first really big sign that something was wrong was going to anaphylaxis, and I worked to start trying to control that stuff, but I still had to work. I still had to raise my kids, so it was really hard to find balance. And I really empathize with parents who are feeling overwhelmed that, you need to work the job to have the money to survive in this world when you really just want to be home with your kids and learning how to take it a little slower and enjoy the time with them as they grow up. But it's so hard. I wish I had answers for you. Unfortunately, I don't. I struggled with that myself. All I can say in that regard is take every moment you can to just slow down, let the mess be, and try not to be overly concerned about it. Try to get your spouse to not be overly concerned about it, because I know that was a stressor for me. But anyhow, and then eventually the car accident and the jaw issues, which again, the jaw issues were going on back then, just not to the extent that I ended up having. So after the car accident, what I found would happen is when I would lay down to sleep, my head would actually spasm. So I had been clenching for so long and so much that my left temporalis started almost constantly. It would feel like somebody's tapping me in the head. That's why I do this. This is what it felt like. Just like somebody's doing this. I'd lay down to go to sleep and something's hitting my head. I remember the first time it happened, first couple of times, I was so confused. I'm like, what is this? And even sliding my hand between my head and my pillow, like, is something in there? What is thumping my head? And only to find it was my head. Great. And I couldn't get rid of that. We don't function well without our own head. So eventually I found a great doctor who really helped me with my neck issues. Again, with Ehlers-Danlos, I had always been really hypermobile in my neck and shoulders. I've got shoulders that would dislocate easily, and a neck with, you know, a retrolithesis, which is a fracture, and a bulging disc, possibly more than one, narrowing of the space, and arthritis, and just all kind of mess up. So nothing needing to be done surgically, though, and I really didn't want to have surgery because I don't recover well. But so again, went to PT specifically for my jaw, and even the other exercises, and they're having me do all this stuff, but it just wasn't really working. So a few of the things that I found that really did help. Well, first of all, a lot of the neck issues, the exercises, strengthening and stabilizing my scapula was huge. Learning how to strengthen my core to support my body, breathe better. I'm going to do actually a series of videos about some of the exercises, some of the intraoral work you can do yourself, some jaw stretches and things. I'm not going to do that now. This one's just going to be to kind of explain, discuss the background, my history, my understanding, where I got some of these ideas, so that hopefully you can realize that even though I'm not a doctor, I do know some things. I have learned, I do pay attention. So in PT, I was having me do different things, but what I've learned is, again, I'm hypermobile. The more I do things like that with a hypermobile joint, the more my muscles, my other tissues then respond with, hey, this is moving way too much, tighten everything up, hold it in place. So it was very counterproductive, and again, only making me worse. So I stopped doing the PT. I mean, I tried for probably a good 6 weeks, and it was so difficult. PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, or muscle energy techniques, are really bad with hyperactive tissues, especially in somebody who's hypermobile. So if you are hypermobile, you have EDS, if somebody's having you do, it's basically like a tension relaxation exercise with your jaw, with your neck, be really, really cautious. If you notice pain afterwards, let them know that's not something you should be doing. Those are terrible, I've learned. If I do any of those exercises, like with my neck, I feel like I'm in a car accident again. It'll take me a good week to recover. So again, I caution you against those. Go very gentle. Give your practitioner warnings. I am hypermobile. I'm concerned about this. I've heard how this can go awry. Can we take it easy? Do this slowly and maybe build. Just be cautious with yourself. Again, that'll be things like they might put a hand to the side of your head or tell you to do that, push into it with resistance so that then it can relax, then you can move further. Again, that's the idea, but with hypermobile tissues. And again, for me, I've had multiple car accidents. I've had multiple bike accidents. I was shaken around by my hair as a child. My neck is very unstable. My body knows it, and my body knows that my head has been tossed around, and it has felt like it might lose my head before. Literally felt that way. So my body is really good at lock it down, hold it tight. So I have to be really careful what I do. So again, if that's kind of you, be aware. Be cautious with yourself. Tell others, be cautious with me. If you get a massage, massages are great. Maybe they shouldn't be moving your head a lot. But so what happened in working with this chiropractor, her name is Dr. Ducat. She's amazing. Ducat Chiropractic in Bloomingdale, Illinois. If you happen to be in the area, I highly recommend her. But what I learned from her, and also just from more research on my own, is that with these hypermobile tissues and the hypersensitivity in my upper body because of all the dislocations, injuries, and issues, is when I stretch and when I exercise, it is paramount. It is of utmost importance that this is going to sound really weird, but just to do a simple neck stretch, I need to engage my quads. I need to press my feet into the floor. I need to make my legs hard and strong, my core nice and solid and tight. And what that does is it lets my nervous system know that I am stable, that I'm not, for instance, flying through the air. Because when you're hypermobile, your body gets information from your tendons and ligaments I'm sorry, your body should normally get information from your tendons and ligaments is what I meant to say. When you're hypermobile, it has more difficulty doing that, because you can imagine, instead of having like taut rubber bands that are pulling from one bone to the other, our rubber bands are kind of like, and so there's no information, no good information in that. Again, to your nervous system, it feels like you're just kind of like wiggling in space. I've been referred to as Gumby, and well, Gumby makes sense. It's kind of like how I'm built. But so if I hold that tension in my body, I'll squeeze my shoulders down, engage my core, engage my quads, then I can move through my range of motion safer. So that is one really important thing. If you are hypermobile, if you have TMJ, if you're going to do any of these stretches or exercises, give your body that stability. If you're sitting down, press your butt into the floor, engage your core, your quads. I have other videos also on my YouTube on how to engage your core, beginning practice exercises for that. So check that out. I'm going to be making, again, more videos on different physical exercises that you can do, engaging your core, working with your jaw, and so forth. And that's a really important thing. If your neck is messed up, so if you have any issues going on in the upper vertebrae, C1, C2, maybe even 3, up in that area, and that maybe you have a forward head posture, well, once your head goes forward, that also is going to cause jaw issues. So again, if you're having jaw issues, you may want to get a massage, see a chiropractor, do things that you can do to get your head back to that normal neutral position. If you're not sure what normal neutral position is, try laying on a floor. Stand against a wall. Those are good places to try and find it. Just bring your head back, tucking that chin down. Neck should not touch the floor, but you think about, lengthening along that wall or along that floor, just making it longer. Again, chin down, find that chin tuck to open up that area at the base of the skull. Anything that's going to do that is going to also, again, help. You can simply massage, but so some of the other things are really, therapy is huge. If you can't afford a mental health therapist, then podcasts, books. I listen to so many books just through having a library card to my local library. So I don't pay for Audible unless there's something I really want to listen to that my library doesn't have. But my library has so many books through an inexpensive Spotify membership. You can get free Spotify. You can listen to a lot of podcasts. Do anything you can to help your mental health. Learn to breathe. Breathe deeply and thoroughly, a nice, deep, diaphragmatic breath. So few people really understand how to breathe diaphragmatically. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but trust me, if your belly is moving a lot, that is not diaphragmatic breathing. I hear so many experts talk about diaphragmatic breathing being like the expansion of your belly. No, it's not. Your belly is not your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is at the lowest part of your rib cage, and the lowest part of your rib cage is what should be expanding. Yes, that means the abdominals will move some, but it's not about abdominal breathing. If you're only breathing abdominally, you're not breathing diaphragmatically. And when you don't breathe diaphragmatically, what you're missing is the diaphragm moving up and down in the wave that massages the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, you may have heard of this, it's vagus from the Latin root wanderer. And it's given that name. It's a cranial nerve, comes right from the brain down through your spine and goes directly into your liver, your stomach, your intestines. You ever notice how when you're stressed, you might feel like, oh, geez, I need to use a bathroom real quick. Well, that's their vagus nerve. There are things we can do to calm the vagus nerve, and one of the simplest and easiest things is, again, diaphragmatic breathing. I will do a video on diaphragmatic breathing. I'm also hosting a workshop in Palatine at the Himalayan Yoga Meditation Center on January 13th, and that will be repeated throughout the year and future years. So if you see this later, look for it again, the Himalayan Yoga Meditation Center in Palatine. Probably something I should do online as well. But anyhow, it is something I'm going to be offering, and in that, the main focus is to learn how to breathe properly, because breath is life. If you don't breathe properly, you're not going to digest properly, you're going to have more neck pain. In fact, that leads me to one of my issues that I ended up resolving this year was thoracic outlet syndrome. So when I had that car accident, again, it was a lateral roll. We first hit on the driver's side, my side of the car. That side was really badly crushed in after we had flown airborne, and I thought I had broken bones. Hypermobility saved me, though. I had no broken bones. Maybe better if I did. I don't know. But may have had fractured ribs, but they don't really show up well on an x-ray, so broken, not sure. Either way, it hurt so bad in my lower ribs, I could not breathe diaphragmatically for months. They probably were fractured. Don't know. But when your ribs are fractured, especially those lower ones, you can't breathe diaphragmatically. So I started breathing chest breathing, which actually, unfortunately, adds to stress. What it also does that it took me a while to figure out was when you aren't breathing diaphragmatically and your body is short on air, what it will do is engage neck muscles to lift the upper rib cage to allow more oxygen into the lungs. And so when I was breathing, using the neck muscles, actually lifting the rib cage up and into my clavicle, and it was causing thoracic outlet syndrome. So I went for about 5 or 6 months this year, actually twice had trigger point injections, that's not fun, in my neck to try to resolve the nerve issues down my arm, because as a massage therapist, there were times I was working just having my arm 30 degrees ahead of me and my hand was going numb. It was really difficult to work that way, just trying to fill up tea in the morning, trying to eat food. Anytime my arm was forward at all, it was going numb. So that was really difficult to deal with. But again, another residual issue from the car accident, that was resolved by breathing diaphragmatically. And again, when you breathe diaphragmatically, the calmness that it brings to your body, the awareness that it requires oftentimes to engage it, to focus on it, can again help calm the mind and help loosen the jaw. So back to seeing Dr. Ducat, doing the exercises, they helped a lot. I was doing way better, but it didn't resolve everything. So she did refer me to a pain specialist, and I was seeing him actually hoping that I could get Botox in my jaw. He didn't do that though. But what he did find was that I had nerves that were really irritated in the, I think it was C2, C3, that we ended up trying 2 nerve blocks and they were effective. They made a huge difference. Now, not necessarily so much for my jaw, but in addition to the jaw pain, I had this pain that came around. It would start throbbing behind my eye. Throughout the day, the more I had to teach, talk, work, it would feel like there was a vice around my head just squeezing it. It was so painful. So we did the 2 nerve blocks for the right side, then the nerve ablation on the right, helped tremendously. Then I still continued to have issues on the left, so we repeated the process on the left. Later in the year, again, had the thoracic outlet syndrome, nerve issues down my left arm, so we tried trigger point injections for that. That didn't do anything, unfortunately. And I continued to have, though, the jaw issues. So no matter what I was doing, the jaw just wasn't letting up. I asked my primary care provider to prescribe Xanax. I learned in the podcast that most TMJ issues, or many TMJ issues, are caused by anxiety and can be alleviated by Xanax. I got a prescription. The first time I tried it, I was like, oh my goodness, is this what normal people feel like? It was amazing, which was also bad because I can see why people get addicted to Xanax. Be careful. Don't do it. There's only 2 drugs in the world that can kill you if you stop taking them once your body's addicted. One is Xanax, the other is alcohol. It's best not to get addicted. So I use the Xanax very rarely, infrequently, just when it's really bad. So in addition to, seeing different professionals, again, I'm a massage therapist. I considered shaving my head for about a year just so I could put massage cups on my head, more so on the left side, but I really wanted to do that, but also didn't want to lose my hair. So thankfully I never did. And I did a lot of intraoral work. I'm going to do a video on that. I did a lot of external work. I would do cupping on my face, so many things. And so it was slowly getting better. After the nerve ablations, again, a lot of my head pain was gone, but the jaw would still happen. And sometimes it gets so bad it would cause some of that head tension. And one thing that I really realized helped me a lot was, so I realized I'm constantly thinking. Unfortunately, due to my childhood, I tend to live in a very hypervigilant state. I'm working on that, working on calming myself down, going slower, breathing deeply, taking my time with things, and again, just being in the present, in the moment, and trying not to be so hypervigilant, reminding myself that I am safe, reminding that inner child that she is safe, that I'm here to protect her. And she's starting to learn that that is more and more true. But so what I started finding, though, in my jaw would be really tight. It was usually when I was rushing, I was busy, I had a lot of things going on. So if I just paused and took my attention a little bit to my breath, but more so to my feet, I thought that was interesting. I realized I was so ungrounded, I was so much in my head that I wasn't planted firmly on earth. And I needed to be here and now, and bringing my attention down to my feet, feeling my toes in my socks or in my shoes on the floor where the pressure was, where it wasn't, noticing which toes were cold or warm. Different things like that would take that tension right out of my head, because I literally brought the awareness and the attention down to my feet. So I want to encourage you to do that. Again, get massage, mental health care, learning to breathe properly. And again, take your time to be mindful, to be present, to bring your attention maybe down into the feet, away from your head, away from that place, and give that jaw a chance to relax. When I'd go to sleep at night, still sometimes if I'd have a lot going on, I'm anxious, busy, I'd feel a little spasm. So again, either bringing my attention to my feet, or sometimes conscious relaxation, finding that place in my face, allowing it to relax. It can be really challenging, though. You'd be amazed how many places you can find tension. I feel oftentimes I'm even holding tension just in my tongue. I've had to learn to relax my tongue, and I've done so much work on this. In the meantime, I have seen my dentist, who referred me to an oral surgeon, who, one oral surgeon doesn't do it. Another oral surgeon basically did like a bait and switch and just lied. Another one wanted like $800 just to even talk to him before he'd consider Botox. I was really frustrated by I'd heard from a few people like Botox injections in the jaw really help, and I was ready to do it. I'm like, I'm not afraid of injections. I'll take it. If it's going to make me stop breaking teeth, because in the last 2 years, I broke 2 teeth, like I was saying. I didn't want to break any more teeth. I'd like to keep these so I can, continue eating as I age. I plan on living on this planet for another 50 years or so. So I was dealing with all this and checking with all these people. Nobody would do it. Again, talked to my pain specialist. He couldn't do it. So I eventually got frustrated, because everything is doing so well, except I can't get. And it would happen here right around the cheekbone. So if you're wondering, temporalis comes all the way down under the zygomatic arch, this bone here, and attaches to part of the mandible. So I would have the spasming here and here, and I was getting so tired of it. I finally just went on Groupon. I bought a Groupon for Botox. So I was able to get in right away. Within a couple of days, I had my jaw injected. Now, it was disappointing to know that I spent $160 on this Groupon that paid for 20 units of Botox. That was only half of my face. For the other half, I had to pay another $220, and it turns out they have some of the better prices in most places. So out of pocket, they say this will last about 4 months. I'm looking at almost $500. So we have $440 for 20 units to be done on each side, out of pocket, every 4 months. That is ridiculous. Our healthcare system shouldn't be fighting against me and saying, no, I can't get this, and it's the only thing that's helped. So yeah, I paid for the injections, and I am so thankful for the relief that I've had. It's been amazing. I can't say I relieved everything, but I'd go with 95%. I still on occasion get a little bit of spasming here. It was happening more so at the beginning, like right after the injections, and I was just doing more conscious relaxation, and it seems to have gotten better since. I'm not sure if it's that the Botox has, it need a little bit more time to take effect. And actually, I keep calling it Botox, but it was some other version by the same guy, Juvo or Juvale, something like that. It would cost a little bit less, is effective a little bit quicker, and basically the same risks and advantages, so I went with that. But I was going to keep calling it Botox because I don't remember the other name. And again, it's made by the same guy, basically the same thing. Just had to have a different name so he couldn't get sued after he sold Botox. But anyhow, so those injections made a huge difference. So now I am working with my pain specialist again. So I had to have the nerve ablations repeated. I shouldn't say I had to, but my neck was getting really stiff again. That pain was starting. I was hoping it would alleviate the jaw issues. It didn't alleviate the jaw issues, and that's what then, got me to go do the Botox. But so, since my follow-up from that last nerve ablations, I told them, like, okay, so I paid out of pocket, total of about $440. If I didn't do the Groupon, that's what it comes to get this done. And it was remarkable, the difference. So when I go back there for follow-up again in January, we're going to be talking about, again, putting into the insurance for Botox. And they might, I'm going to, once they deny, I'll appeal. And hopefully once I tell them, I've broken teeth several times, I've been through PT, I've consulted with many doctors, I've had cervical ablations, I've done the exercises, I've done it all. That paying for a Groupon and out of pocket for a Botox person that basically tends to do this for wrinkles is the one who was able to finally help me. And it shouldn't be that way. This should be able to be done medically because, again, it is for healthcare. I'm not doing this for wrinkles. I am doing this so that I can stop breaking teeth, lower my stress level, be able to sleep at night, because believe me, it is hard to sleep when your head is thumping against you and you keep feeling your jaw clenching and all that stuff. So, Botox is where I ended up, and I'm not going to tell you, run out and buy a Groupon. I don't know that it's the best thing to do. I think nurses that are doing them, they know what they're doing, but I was also warned against doing this. I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't. You got to make your own decision. But it really did help me, and I will do everything I can to continue to get the Botox in my jaw if it starts coming back. But I'm honestly hoping maybe it won't. I'm thinking that because I am, again, doing the mental health work, I'm doing the breathing, I've been getting back into a meditation schedule, I get massages, I do intraoral work, I'm doing all the things. Maybe in 4 months I won't need it. Or even if in 4 months I do, maybe that'll be the last time. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it really is about getting my jaw out of this pattern of stress, anxiety, and clenching. And I can tell you that every time I have even just a little bit of caffeine, my jaw starts spasming, my head starts spasming. So I want to really discourage you from having the caffeine. If that is something you're still doing, at least try to cut back, see if you notice a difference. But yeah, a long time ago, I was 4 cups a day. Over the last couple of years, I was 1 cup a day. But in the last year, I just had to cut back. And I cut back to black tea. I was having black tea in the morning and find that even the black tea was still causing the spasms. So I cut back to green tea and then eventually to just herbal teas. And so there is no caffeine anymore. At least not usually, on occasion. I did get a little this morning, so I had to get up early. But yeah, I take little sips and it lasts for hours, because if I have any more than that, I get this happening. It drives me nuts. And I don't want it. It's not worth it. So I'll just make videos and keep myself awake that way. But so I hope this helps you. I will, again, over the next few weeks probably, work on a playlist on YouTube where I will have compiled videos showing how to do some intraoral work, some different chin tucks and other things that can also help you with that. But again, learn how to diaphragmatically breathe, learn how to relax your mind and body, find some better coping mechanisms, take some time to be in nature, ground yourself. In the Midwest now, it is winter. Maybe you have some large flagstones or something in your yard you could bring into your house to put your feet on at night when you are watching TV. But we need connection with the earth. We need to ground ourselves. We need to breathe properly. There's so many things we can do that don't cost a lot that really can make a big difference. So I wish you the best. I really hope that this helps, and I hope that if you are dealing with TMJ issues, you find relief. I understand how much they suck. Best wishes. Peace.